How are you guys doing? I wanted to come earlier. I was checking some videos right before I came here. I was checking out one of our leading conservative here, Yoshiko Sakurai's video. I didn't finish it because I doubled the speed of the video. Like, yeah, she's older, like much older. So like she speaks slowly. I double the speed. Still, she was speaking like it took time, and I couldn't finish it. Like I wanted to watch the whole thing and give the perspective to you, but I should have watched that video earlier. I was just watching some music videos too today. My music mind is in the way. But anyway, let's wait for some people. Am I on the right channel? I picked my political channel, right? Yeah. I have a gaming channel too. So, hey Yoko, hello. Yawn, sorry. I'm late. I'm sorry. Yeah. I have a gaming channel, by the way. It's called Random Yoko Vlog. Vlog. It used to be a vlog channel. Trump said he would make great television. I mean, it made a good, very dramatic newspaper. This is from Japan, of course. Like when the meeting happened, it was in the middle of the night here. So our newspaper usually arrive at 4 or 5 in the morning, or 6. I don't know. Like usually at 4 or 5, I think, because I hear the bike sounds, But yeah. So it didn't make it in time yesterday. So because for Japan, this meeting happened in the morning of yesterday, I believe. Yeah. So today's newspaper reflects the meeting, and this is the front page. So here, of course, this part, I think. I didn't get the time to read it though. So this whole thing is about the meeting. And also inside too, they have the let's see, Russian. You see Putin, right? So Russian welcoming the outcome, and also it just all of a sudden it was friendly, and all of a sudden it made a scene, and there's a picture too. And this part also is about the meeting, the editorial. Up until here, like this part, is about the meeting and showing the Japanese perspective. What a time! I'll get to it. Did you watch it? I actually did, because as you know, I'm a night owl. I can't fall asleep easily at night. I wake up around noon and then fall asleep at 3 or 4 in the morning usually. I can't get out of that cycle. But so when I was trying to fall asleep, I saw the picture or a short video footage, I think, of like Zelenskyy just arriving at the office. So I saw that and I realized like, oh, maybe I should fall asleep watching it. So I turned on Fox News and I watched it live. And I think I did see the whole like friendly part, I was watching it in English though, like, so I hope I was getting it right. I even saw the part where Zelenskyy was handing out, didn't give Trump, but like he had like some papers of photos of like before and after and so on. And he was sharing and Trump was like, ooh, and he was learning that, and I was like, oh, Zelenskyy prepared like visual aids. That's clever. Like I was impressed and so on. And it was so calm and friendly. Like it was a little, like I could feel this like not friendly, but like there was some tension kind of thing. I guess that like it was not like open, but still like they were just doing fine, very good, like warm, calm, just productive meeting. And I usually when they meet, this is the Oval Office, right? So when they usually meet here, just like you saw with our Prime Minister recently, it just goes along the what was previously decided, and they just have to play along, right? So even though I was a little nervous, I watched the thing, and then it was so nice that I got kind of relieved, I guess, and I just fell asleep, right? Like, oh, this meeting, I guess I don't have to worry about this thing. Like, they're actually getting along, I thought. Fell asleep. The next morning, actually around noon, my husband, like when I woke up, my husband was like, Gyoko, while you were sleeping, the world is chaotic now. Like, you gotta wake up, you know? Like, you have no idea what's happened. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I did watch the meeting, the majority of the meeting, and it was just fine. Like, I watched it all, almost. And he's like, no, the last 10 minutes. And I'm like, oh. And I started to check the news, and I was like, whoa, whoa. I'm like, I'm sad. Like, this is no joke. Like, I'm sad, you know, that it didn't work out for both countries. It's not good for both ends, you know. What did you guys think about that, though? Like, I need to know MAGA people's, like, I need to understand you guys. Yeah, I did speak in Japanese. Yeah, so Japanese perspective is, long story short, Japanese perspective is very, very similar to European reactions. Just like reflected the UN voting regarding Ukraine too, right? Like, our Japan does stand with Ukraine, and it doesn't mean that we don't understand American perspective. You know, we do get where they are coming from, and for America, like, we understand the financial situation and the frustration with Europe, those countries that are not paying enough for their own lives. Like, they should contribute more, like, obviously, like, no matter how difficult their life could be temporarily, they need to just do it, right? So, like, in America, of course, like, for America, it's important for America, like, it's not the police of the world anymore, but still, like, you probably would prefer the world order led by your country, right? By America, not China. If you don't take the role, China will take over. So, of course, like, you have to keep the influence, but after this, though, like, what's happening among the Japanese discourse? What Japanese people are thinking is, the first thing is that, unfortunately, because it fell apart, like, I hear it's not like in a negative tone, but like, even though the actions are kind of negative, like, Japanese people are saying that we cannot just depend on America anymore. I think it's good as a result. Like, what happened was horrible, but, like, as for Japan, like, I live in Japan, I'm Japanese, I'm a Japanese patriot. And for us, like, we've been saying all these years that we need to get militarily independent and national security. Nowadays, we can't, like, no country, unless you're China, like, no countries on our, like, free world side cannot sustain by ourselves. Like, we need to cooperate internationally to, fight against the threats to our countries. But at least, like, Japan doesn't even have our military forces officially, like, because of our constitution. So we need to revise our constitution. Japanese conservatives kept saying, like, we need to revise the constitution. We need to have our military forces officially, and so that we can actually, work. We can use our military forces like any other countries are doing. So that is back. That kind of discussions are back. I was checking out this conservative figure Yoshiko Sakurai's channel earlier before I came here. I checked the comments. I should probably translation to that and share on X. But people, like a bunch of people, like with like a thousand likes or something, like many likes, people are saying that we need to get independent, militarily independent. We need to revise our constitution. We can't depend on America because this happens, like no offense to Trump, like they have their own logic for America first based logic. So as for Japan, we are like, oh, we see that like what's happening. So that's what we are talking about. And I couldn't finish the video because I had to come here. But Yoshiko Sakurai, I think that she was mentioning that our surroundings, just like what she was talking about was the general idea of Japanese perspective, which is that we can't help but projecting ourselves on Ukraine, because Ukraine is now, like, from our perspective, they were unilaterally invaded by Russia by force. Diplomatically, they were working things out, and the Russian side, of course, like says like, oh, it's not binding legally, that it's not effective legally, like it's not official and that sort of things. And even though Ukraine believed in the security, in the security guarantee and so on, so I see the miscommunication there. But as for Japan, though, like we are threatened by China. They're coming into our territories. By the way, in regards to that, Japan, this says that Japanese maritime self-defense forces, they passed through like Taiwan Strait alone for the first time. So that's amazing. So see, like Japan is like leveling up what we are capable of. Because there is a need, and even like leftists here too, they, at least like moderate liberals, are now waking up to the reality that China is expanding and that they're oppressing Uyghurs and Tibetans, Southern Mongolians, Hong Kongers even. We are witnessing it. On the top of that, we are seeing Ukraine, and we realize the rule of law doesn't have as much power as we thought anymore. So we feel the threats. So that's why we stand with Ukraine even more. Like Russia too. Russia is illegally occupying northern territories of Japan. We have historical issues with like Soviet Union era, that when we were trying to end the World War II, we were about to surrender. Russia knew it. And then they abruptly dropped our neutrality pact and then invaded into Japan. So just like Ukraine is going through, like they just dropped it. We had a treaty. What was it for? They just invaded because we were surrendering. They lose the chance to come down. So they just came down, killing our people, raping our women. And so that, like, we have the history, like historical records of those tragedies, and Japanese people remember that. So when we look at Ukraine, like, we project ourselves, right? So that's our perspective. But as for this meeting, though, this is even in a picture too, because Japanese people understand better with this face and the lines and so on. It all started with Vance. I'm trying to like this guy because he might become the president of the US next after Trump, right? So I'm trying to like him. But it's his first time to be a politician, right? And even though, like, I do understand that his policies are like even like much more MAGA than Trump, I feel, because he's focused so much on America first. So seen from American conservatives or right wings, probably he's speaking for you. He did speak for you in the Oval Office, like I could tell. That's something that I see. all the time on X. So like, oh, he's saying like what you guys are saying. I'm like, oh, he is there for you, but diplomatically speaking, Japanese standard is what you saw earlier this year when our prime minister went to the Oval Office to meet Trump. You know how he behaved, our prime minister behaved? Very friendly. Like he was a little arrogant like this, sitting like this, but like he just followed what was decided. He didn't derail. And that's the Japanese way of diplomacy. We even apologize sometimes and so on. So the problem is that like each side had like it was this meeting I see is like a miscommunication package. It's like everybody's understanding of that place, occasion, and so on. Some people are reading it in Japan, like I see in the newspaper, that some experts are reading it even deeper and kind of being suspicious that Trump and Vance are siding with Russia rather, that this was planned and so on. So I think that's a little too much, because when Trump, well, sorry, I keep rambling. I will look at the comments, okay? But I just know when Trump kind of, like Trump was trying so hard to keep calm and, not to attack Zelenskyy. Like Trump was mature, But there was a point that Zelenskyy just crossed the line. And I could see that because Trump reacted in the way that I always do on X, actually. That point is that, like Zelenskyy talked about the geographic aspect. I always do that too, but, it was not the right place, right time. Zelenskyy talked about like, oh, America is surrounded by the ocean, but in the future, you will see and blah, 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 like talked about the future. Even though Trump is gonna fix America, right? Trump is gonna fix America. And so, and like right now, how I see is that America was always like, the borders were protected, right? But recent years, it's just, especially after like Obama and Biden, the borders are like that. So it's like if this is a standard, like a normal country standard, then Biden and Obama, like Democrats are like here. So Trump is gonna just bring it up so that it will be normal again, right? So, and then also it's up to Americans to decide the future. Me, I always, talk about my own country. I do mention your countries just like this, but there's a line that I never, at least I try not to cross the line, Like I don't tell you to change, or I don't tell you to do this and that. Like I share my concerns and so on, but it's not like, oh, you gotta do this and blah, blah, blah. I don't do that. But like when I post on social media, I see other people's posts, often like Westerners, because they are, for example, they're struggling with illegal immigrants in Europe and America, and they have their own frustration, and they use Japan to fit their narrative, kind of. So it's like basically distorting what's happening in Japan. And even though our immigrant issue, for example, would be Chinese or Vietnamese, but they don't care. They want to talk about Muslims, right? So then they start talking about Islam and about Japan. It's all mixed, and they're like, oh, Japan is gonna be like Europe. I'm like, Japanese people will work on it by ourselves. That's, as for national security or economy, we need to talk it out and cooperate and so on. But when it comes to domestic issues like that, we know what's happening. We have our own understandings. and it's up to us to decide what to do, right? Just like and Trump, I'm frustrated by that. And when I look at Trump in the office, that meeting when Zelensky talked about that, like, oh, the future, in the future, America, and then Trump, like, he changed the tone. It's it's explained here too. That was it. Like I would be upset too. So, and Zelensky, what I learned about Zelensky is that he doesn't know English as much as I thought. The problem is that I believe it was after this meeting and that he went on Fox News, I think, and I saw the footage on X, and Zelensky was talking to the anchor. The anchor said, like, "Do you regret it? How he behaved and so on. Do you regret it?" The anchor said, and Zelensky responded, like, regret, like, what does regret mean? And he asked his aide, who was close, like his staff were nearby, I think, and then regret means this, and oh, it was bad. He was like, oh. So I'm like, wait, like if Zelensky doesn't even know the word, English word, regret, then of course he doesn't know the tone and context and so on of like American side. And in addition, it was like 2 versus 1. So like, what is happening diplomatically? But anyway, thank you so much for listening to me. Oh, Sabacha, thank you. I see one more, but it's like, I can't see that. Wait, I need to check by my own device, I think. I can't see the super chat. Like, it's connected somehow. Oh, wait, it doesn't show that? Oh, somebody said $2 one. And then I don't see the comments because I'm going to show you what I'm seeing right now. Do you see this? This is what's happening. I can't read it. Like, it's covering it. Like, this application is bad. Sorry, but thank you though. Yeah. Oh, about the thankful, like Zelensky has to be thankful. Yeah. He should have, like, as for Zelensky, I see that, he's been thanking America for all these years, but as for Trump, probably Zelensky was thanking Biden, and after Trump administration returned, I don't know if he has said that, but I don't know. Is it? I don't think that it's the like if he actually said it or not. I think that American side was feeling his attitude. But as for Zelensky, Trump was previously calling Zelensky a dictator, and it was a war news too. It was really controversial here in Japan too. It's like, what is happening? And soon enough, though, Trump said like, "Oh, did I say that?" And then again, we were blown away. But it works because it's Trump. But honestly, it's like, what's interesting about Trump administration is that we can't tell like what Trump is actually thinking, and also we can't apply our, like, politics were easy to read before, but it's now, like, we were able to read what's going to happen and who's thinking what and so forth because it was based on common grounds. But Trump does it differently, so does Vance. So yeah. Yoko, I love you. Thank you. Well, imagine going to sleep because the meeting was so nice and then waking up to the worst office meeting in history. Exactly. Story of my life. Uh, yeah. Yeah. But in Japan, though, as for peace, I talked about it this last week as well, but when it comes to peace, like peace deal, like this ceasefire deal shouldn't be like ceasefire. And the difference that I see in like what's happening today and how things were before, there is a clear difference, which is that in the past, when a country attacks the other, like invades, just like Russia did, usually the aggressor is blamed. And so like aggressor is, is blamed, and then we side with this victim, and we tell the world, and including the aggressor, that we need to follow the rule of law, and that unilateral, attempt of change of status quo is not allowed. We are not going to tolerate that, and that has been our standard. But I think that there are lots of emotions going on too. Like it's hard to even talk about it because it's layered in many different ways, and yeah. But like it's just that from an international standpoint, because I come from another country, I'm not American, and just so you know, like I'm not gonna affect American politics, So like just keep it cool, and just food for thoughts, just listen to me like that. Yeah, but international standpoint, it would be that, like even Japan, a close ally of America, doesn't view it in the same way. So that's interesting because Americans right now believe that America's influence is going to last this way. It might. I have no idea. Because after this ends, this whole thing ends, then we can focus on China, and then it will be better balanced maybe. But at least like from what I can tell from what people are saying here, like people don't like it's good, as I said, like we are getting independent minded, so that's good. But at the same time, I see kind of the shift to like cooperating with Europe and so on. Like we're more taking our own initiative, which is good for me because I'm a patriot. But the world picture, it was America is the leader and others just followed, and cooperated. But today, like are we changing the formation? So like that's why I have a hard time understanding what's going on. Oh, super chat, thank you. Almost 65 years for Japanese conservatives to wake up about the UN treaty, international treaty never last. Yeah, paper do or rot. Always prepare to break a treaty. Yeah, like of course it's important to be able to stand on your own. And America, I know that America needs that time as well. Like I've been talking about Japan, my country, but at the same time, Trump was elected because he needs to fix America. Yeah. Oh, it was not a conversation between top leaders of both sides, but public conversation in front of the world and Americans. The whole world was watching it. When I, saw the scene afterwards, after knowing what was gonna happen, I saw the scene, about 10 minutes or so, And then I was like, when they both sides raised their voice, I was like, oh, please do not fight. Like I really hoped, even though I knew they wouldn't, but like I was like, what if it's gonna be a fist fight, you know, because that was like how tense it was. You are affecting my country. Am I that powerful? Trump was using some sarcasm, which may not translate that well. Yeah. The sarcasm culture of America really does not get translated, at least to Japan. Japanese people are nice people. We don't use sarcasm. Sarcasm is kind of mean, you know. You know that? But I guess the Japanese people kind of sympathized with Zelensky. You know, it's a fact. I'm not just saying it to, you know, because I want to think that way. But it just happened. We sided with Zelensky because he was speaking in some dust, speaking in English, which is not his first language, and then those two native speakers, like two of them too, just talking to Zelensky, and Zelensky doesn't even know the word regret, you know, later found out. But so like obviously he's not as fluent as we all think. And so that picture of native speakers versus this guy that doesn't know English enough, it's like some Japanese people were projecting themselves into the picture and felt bad about it. So just one aspect. But it happens though. But like, I seriously, like, many Japanese people are saying that Zelensky should have had a translator with him, because that's what Japanese people do. Japanese Prime Minister, this one guy from the past, from what I heard, you know, I don't even know which one he was, but I hear that this Prime Minister Japan had was very fluent in English, even better than like diplomats. But still, he had a translator because Japanese language has the context, you know, and it could be misinterpreted. And also, we can say like, oh, in Japanese we meant this, and in English when we say that, maybe it's not the same, and that sort of things. And also, using a translator is good because you get the time to think or cool it down, you know. So things like that doesn't happen. I really, even though like Japanese side, I mean not side, Japan often majority of people did, you know, we have similar understanding as Zelensky, but like I do believe that Zelensky should just be quiet, you know, from that diplomacy. Like when Vance came in, like he needed to be more diplomatic, I think, because like American leaders have to show their stance to their people as well. So, but again, it's difficult though, because Zelensky does represent the whole people dying for the country too. Oh, it's so difficult. Also, but I think you remember that status quo of the world's nations border-wise is relatively new. Is it? Throughout history, empires have always had to expand. Sympathizing with the victim is completely new. Really? That's what you think? Oh, that's interesting, because like I'm not against it. You know, like I'm open to many different perspectives, and like we can't control each other's perspectives, you know, because it just naturally happen. And so what I try to focus on is what we can do as a result for each other's benefits. So like it's interesting to see that different perspective. Yeah. Because at least like Japanese people, I think that we look at what the premise of today, if you know what I mean. So like, oh, what happens often is like like for example in Olympics, like figure skate and so on, like Japanese players, athletes, Japanese athletes do well to a certain extent, right? And then Westerners often change the rule, and then we have to adjust ourselves again, and so on. It has happened with Olympics. At least like I've heard stories like that from Japanese people. Anyway, by kicking Zelenskyy out of the Oval Office, it makes Zelenskyy realize we hold all the bargaining chips and should make him more willing for peace and negotiations. Yeah, Zelenskyy, I guess, needed to, I don't know, like, of course, like, I did understand when Trump said, like, oh, it's not here, but I think Trump talked about that, oh yeah, he doesn't have the card. Yeah. So, like, Japanese standpoint would be that, I mean, I can't speak for everyone here, but at least I felt that I used to always complain that Japanese politicians are so weak, like apologetic, and we are all like trying to please other world leaders and so on, and often our national interests are damaged that way. But I realized that like there was the bright side to it, that we are never like, I'm kind of arrogant, but usually our politicians and diplomats are always like polite, super polite, kind of apologetic, and yeah, like we know when to shut up and so on, right? But yeah, some politicians are weak. Yeah, I agree. So like that's why like Japanese people are like conservative people are frustrated with that. But now I see the point of doing that, because negotiations like this can fall apart. There are some voices though in Japan too that Zelenskyy should have, just suck it up for another 10 minutes to sign it. But yeah. But I never know his feelings though, so yeah. Oh, Superchat, thank you. Thank you for your commentary. Thank you for listening. Europe is a joke and still buying Russian gas. They are. They're buying Russian gas. Trump wants policy priority to shift to China. Yeah. The war must end for that. Yeah. I wonder what's the real, like a practical, ideal situation. Maybe? Like, but even if European nations cooperate more and engage more, their size of countries, the size of their countries, they don't have as much power as America, right? Like, they can't replace America, right? That's what I guess is making the situation difficult. They gathered to talk to stop the real fighting, but they did math fighting. That's the irony. Nevertheless, Zelenskyy had to put on a formal suit to show his respect to USA and the world. Yeah, but to do it publicly was kind of seen from another country. Like, of course, like when I imagine that happening in Japan, I guess that it's like appearing like that to our Tenno, our emperor, like that, because it's equal in your country, right? Like in America, Trump is the leader, like top, super top, right? Top of the top, and that would be. It's even though it's like culturally it's different, like like structure wise it's all different, but like it just when I imagine like him meeting our Tenno Heika, like our emperor that way, yeah, then I understand it. But at the same time though, like Zelenskyy has been doing that for forever. I don't know what's the real, like the correct answer to that. But if he was wearing like a military suits and so on, then I would get that, I guess. But yeah, that fashion is new, so I don't know what to think about it. He thinks he's Che Guevara. Che Guevara. Yes. Hola, Yoko and chat. Hello, thanks for coming. Trump was also saying that Ukraine, though they have brave fighters without U.S. weapons, they wouldn't have been able to stand versus Russia by withdrawing support, cars, its weapons, and money. Yeah. Sorry, I missed a lot of comments. Just going back a little bit. Zelensky's a puppet. It's interesting that you think that way because in Japan we know the term like useful idiots, and it's the term used by communists of Russia, like Soviet Union and so on. And it's like, I think it's a mutual thing, that like it depends on which side you stand on. But idiot. Yeah. Such a difficult world today. Like, I just wish that it would have moved forward. Did you see the meme of Putin, Xi Jinping, and Kim Jong-un? Like some people are sharing it. So this fell apart. Like whichever side you were on, you know, like it just fell apart. So it's not productive, right? So after that, like some people are sharing the meme of like Putin calling Xi Jinping, and he's like, bro. And Xi Jinping's like, right? And then Xi Jinping is like, oh, I got another person on the line. And Kim Jong appears, and Kim Jong is like, bro. I saw the meme, and I feel like that's what's happening, because here it says that Putin, you see the Putin's face, Putin welcoming the negotiations falling apart. Yeah. What Japanese people are concerned about is like, you know, but it's a eye opener though. Like somebody said earlier that like expansion is something that empires used to do. What was that? I should remember that. Empire have always had to expand. So like if you know, people in Western nations like or America and Europe, if people have that recognition, then I see why like Russia is not the bad guy here to those people. Like it's like Japanese people are kind of allergic to expansions because China is expanding. Russia kept coming to the south, like historically speaking, whether it's Soviet Union or Russia, you know. And Japan during 1904 to 5, we fought Russia. We surprisingly won. It's like a miracle when you think about it, considering the size of Japan back then. But there were so many casualties, so many sacrifices. My husband keeps saying that Ukrainian people should watch that. There's a drama, you know, like a TV show that aired on NHK. They are rerunning that show actually. But even though the narrative is kind of biased, you know, because the author probably, even though he collected all the information and tried to write it based on historical facts, still it's biased. And he's blaming how the leaders back then, like military leaders back then, used our soldiers and so on. But looking at that, it's really well made. Russia at the time, I guess that our relation was good at the time, and they let us use Russian buildings and so on to make it realistic, and Russian actors are there as well. And so it's so realistic, it's very well made. It's about the Japan-Russia war back in early 1900s. But I'm watching the rerun with my husband, and I realized that there are so many casualties just to move forward, especially because back then, of course, we didn't have that technology that we have today. So just to go forward, to push the front line, the soldiers just have to dive in. Kamikaze, right? It's so crazy when you think about it, just to sacrifice your life to just go attack you become the missile, It's crazy, but it was already, it's like the first time, I guess, that they did that, like in a modern age, that our soldiers back then just they knew that they were going to get hit by Russian soldiers, but they just went in. And there's so many casualties. By the time that this one place that they wanted to take, to the mountain, the top of the hill, so that they can see the ocean and so on. In order to go there, it's like so many soldiers went in, and only 40 people survived or something. So considering that, I think that Ukrainian people too should realize that it's not easy to protect. But at the same time, though, like from the Ukrainian standpoint, I guess that they thought that they probably regretted that they let go of the nuclear weapons, But in return, they thought that they was going to be protected, but nope. Ukraine was Russia to start with. No, then Russia was Muscovy. Russia was like this, if you talk about history. Russia used to be Mongolian Empire. So if you talk about history, then let Mongolia take over. Because I think it would be better. I'm so sad that Mongolia is small now. Do you remember the former president Elbegdolji? He shared this map of Mongolian Empire, if I remember correctly. It used to be Mongolia, but Mongolian people are not saying that, because they have common sense. So, yeah. Kamikaze, right? America is very familiar. That's so true. I mean, you're the opponent. Yeah. Every time I move, I'm like there's some feather coming out of me. Am I an angel? Just kidding. Thank you for your super chat. I am from Chicago and I'm always at work. Oh, so I never get Are you working late? I never get a chance to catch you live. Here's a few dollars to show how much I appreciate the clarity of your outlook and observations. One love to all. Thank you so much. That's such a thoughtful comment. Thank you. Yeah, it's so. I'm really thankful that it's probably not always pleasant to hear my or Japanese perspective, because it's different. It's like mentally speaking, like when I've watched a lot of psychology videos, and experts point out that when we hear like different opinions, that's like, we cannot. It's like being told that we cannot love the person, and we feel the division. And that's why we feel sad and so on. But thank you for being there with me. Yep. countries break apart and observe others all the time, and we don't call them the same name. Mongolia also wanted to conquer Japan. Yeah, we fought back. At the end of the day, I guess that we need to also be strong to protect our current border. But as for Japan, Japan is actually in a tricky standpoint because, as I said, Russia is illegally occupying the northern territories of Japan, right? So what that means is that we need to fight eventually to take them back. There's no way we're gonna, give them up because it's our lands, Like it's obvious. It's obvious. Like if you look at the history that what Russia did to take those to occupy those lands illegally. So we need to take them back. Abe tried to negotiate with Putin. And Abe's mind back then, like there was no, times were different. And when Abe was in power, he didn't want to confront two nations, both China and Russia at the same time. No. So Abe wanted to avoid that scenario. And so he was friendly to Russia. And just like Trump is doing with Russia right now, like Abe listened to Putin. Like you can find easily the pictures with pictures of Abe and Putin. They're friendly. They're smiling at each other, friendly all the time. You can easily find them because that was their relationship there. But so as a result, though, because Abe was a charismatic, very he calculated what's gonna happen politically. So he invested in Russia. He didn't want to make Russia, like Putin, his enemy. So even financially, Japan cooperated with Russia. Even though our lands are illegally occupied, Japan still cooperated, But it didn't move forward, Russia just took our money. It's awful. That's why I don't, people love Abe. People here, majority of conservative, almost all Japanese conservative people love Shinzo Abe. I do personally, but when it comes to his policies and his political actions, I don't praise everything. There are many, many compromises, but that's politics, that's diplomacy. Difficult. Politics is so difficult. Mongolia lost to the OG kamikaze, no really Japan. How do you know that history? I'm so impressed. Yes, exactly. Kamikaze, probably typhoon in real world, but yeah, divine wind, kamikaze. They're like, go away ships, Mongolians, go away. But those Mongolian ships, though, it was actually an international army. So they did have Mongolians, I think, but it was Chinese and Koreans that came here because that's what happens geographically speaking. They were using those people. So, yeah. We still have a monument, like a memorial of those battles, though. So Mongolian army came to my prefecture, around my prefecture, so they were coming here, and then a lot of soldiers died. So we do have a bit of clothes from those soldiers, it's in the museum, and also there's a memorial, huge memorial to commemorate the soldiers. That's what Japanese people do because we don't want to be cursed. And also we honor the soldiers, So we take Mongolian friends to those memorials. Every time our Mongolian friend, whoever comes, we go to the memorial together. And it's so interesting. History is so interesting because back then, we were enemies, but today we are firmly together against CCP. But yeah, just so you know, my understanding of Russia is that it's same as my husband. My husband is actually becoming an expert on this. He published a book about Russia. Basically, our work together is human rights activist, and it's not because we want to be nice, but because it benefits Japan. Like I don't want to put it that way, but that's the harsh truth. And our friends from those nation states do understand, like whatever it is, our motivation is like they like it that we help them. So basically, so China is colonizing Tibet, Uyghur, Southern Mongolia, and Hong Kong. And we are friends with those people from those nation states. And we are protesting together against CCP. And often my husband knows a lot of National Diet members, like our parliament members. So we visit Tokyo, talk to our National Diet members, and make it more political and to actually make moves, on the national level. So that's what we do. And Russia is our recent thing. And after the war broke out, because Japan has a history with Russia, as I said, and also my husband's, who is it? Grandparents? Yeah, my husband's dad, like my father-in-law, was born in Manchuria, I think. So they were living in around there. So they had to move back to Japan, but if Soviet Union soldiers had caught the family, my husband wouldn't be born. So like it's our family history too. So yeah, crazy. But because of that, like we take it personally, like it's our history too. So we talk to those people, like actually 41 groups under Russia's, because it's a federation, Russian Federation. So like there are many nation states, right? And but those countries want to get independent, but at least those activists, But and some regions like Chechen and so on, they have an actual like functioning government, but and they want to get independent, but Russia is not letting that happen. So that's why my husband and I, we work together to work with them against the regime. So that's why the forum that we attend together is labeled by, it was last year in November, I think, that the Supreme Court in Russia labeled it as a terrorist nation. Yep. I think you're streaming while running too many processes. I get a mild audio distortion that often occurs when there's not enough RAM. Could be my own side though, but I see it only on your channel. Really? I don't know. I'm using iPad and my internet is right there, but it's not strong enough, I guess. Sorry. If you give me super chat. If many of you give me super chat, I can invest in my gears. Working with them is like working with Bin Laden in Afghanistan. That's what you think? USA will help Japan oppose China, but not Russia. Yeah. I mean, I get it. So like, because of course, like each country, like including America, each country has different cultural and historical and geographical backgrounds. So our interests are, it's a miracle that when we have common interests, that when we have a good chemistry, it's when that happens, when we actually match, I find it rather lucky, and that's what we need to make, that kind of situations is what we need to make, and that's what diplomacies are for, I think. But if both ends are patriotic, then I guess the meeting that just happened in the Oval Office, situations like that happen. Even like Zelensky and Putin, like both sides cannot tolerate each other. So that's why I think that patriots are. It's hard to actually be friends with patriots internationally. It's rather difficult, I think. Some people here dream about creating a conservative network internationally, and I love that ambition. But at the same time, if you look at Middle East, their conservative is your enemy. So, like, politics, man. I don't think it's Yoko's connection. Oh, YouTube? My YouTube keeps freezing and crashing. I'm thinking Chrome browser isn't working well. Really? Wow. Maybe they're trying to cut us apart. Putin doesn't hate Zelensky. He does everything out of his own sense of pragmatism. Geography decides most politics, not ideology. I agree. Large part of it is coming from geography. I wish that the technology would advance far ahead, that land power would be different. Do you think I don't know, like, I have a feeling though that if global warming was true, let's say that, I know that you guys are against it, but let's say that if global warming was true, then I feel like land power people will be more soft. It was so interesting yesterday. It was so warm yesterday. It's gonna get colder again here in Japan, but yesterday it was so warm, like it's like April kind of temperature. It's already March though, but it was warm. I didn't need a jacket, and everybody was happy. And so my husband and I, we ate at the restaurant in a mall yesterday, and then afterwards we stopped by at the grocery store, and this guy at the grocery store, like the staff of the grocery store, was putting on stickers to give discounts to the salmons. And my husband and I were like, oh, they're giving the discounts, like, oh, it's gonna get less expensive. So we were talking, chatting and so on, and this old man who was there before us turned back, like turned to us, and he was like, oh, it's less than 50%, like it's like the price is really cheap now, like, yeah. And I don't even know this guy. And Japanese people, unlike Americans, Japanese people are not friendly like that. Like, maybe back in the day, but today we don't talk to each other at all. Strangers are like enemies, basically. So like, well, and this guy turned like, yeah, it's really cheap. I'm like, oh yeah, that's nice, right? And then we went to this other fish section, and we were looking at the sashimi, like raw fish was getting like discounts as well. We were looking at, and my husband kept saying like, oh, where's wasabi? Wasabi, you know wasabi? So we were looking for like they give the free wasabi. So my husband was like, where's wasabi? And then this random guy that we don't even know of turned again, and he's like, oh, here. And then and my husband and I were like, why is everybody talking to us, And it's probably because like we reached the conclusion that it's because it's so warm. When it's warmer, we get happier. And look at the Southeast Asians, for example. They're so much happier than people, in the North. So that's my personal way of thinking. That's I should write a research paper. Anyway, sorry for talking about stupid things. Yeah. Yoko, why didn't Ishiba invite Trump to Japan? Why didn't Ishiba invite Trump to... He did. He did, actually. He could get even more trade deals done during a visit that are favorable for both Japan and the USA. Trump-Senpai, I think, will come to Japan around probably like fall season. October, November, maybe around there. Not too soon, though, because he's busy, I guess. And of course, our country has the parliament and so on. So, yeah. But yeah, it's gonna happen. So, I wonder what's gonna happen this year, though. I wonder if everything will. I really hope that we can put. Do you think that the guarantee of security for Ukraine is possible? Because that's what they want. See, like the security guarantee doesn't match. That's the point, I think. That part is the important thing. Oh, I've been speaking for over an hour. Guys, if no super chat, I need to go. If America owns half of their minerals, yes. Yeah? Isn't it 50% already? Oh, Skype is ending. Did you hear about Skype ending? See this one. What's the term? Security guarantee? This is like ASMR, the paper sound. This again, it's the key. Security guarantee, unclear. You see the faces. Orban is there. I cannot like Orban. He likes Russia too much. But then I understand, like, geographically, of course, they're gonna be like that. There's some experts here too talking about trust issues and mutual benefits. Igor Klestin. Also, meanwhile, East Asia is doing well, by the way. So on the front page, it said that Japanese maritime self-defense forces sailed through Taiwan Strait, right? That's great. Independently, that's great, right? And also, this is Japan-South Korean relation. They emphasize the importance. Who did that? Who emphasized Japan-South Korean relationship? It's the current government people did that. The vice prime minister? Yeah. Who is what's the word? Like active? No. The current, the president cannot work now for his situation, but somebody working for him as a replacement, current temporarily. He emphasized the Japan-South Korean relationship. So it's coming from the South Korean side. This March 1st is the very day that South Korea, historically, they just go anti-Japan. Not this year. That is so amazing. You have no idea. Japan and South Korea, we were like forever hating each other. What happens with neighbors, But yeah, and I think that South Korean culture is it's like tragedies are very, very like kind of beautified. I feel like I don't know the term. They have this interesting cultural values that are different from Japanese people. Like Japanese people don't bring up our tragedies and so on. We do commemorate like important days and so on, but we don't go like anti-America, for example, right? Like when, let's say the atomic bombs day are there, right? Like August 6th and 9th. That's when we commemorate the victims, but we don't go like, oh, American. We don't do that, right? But Korea does. South Korea does, or at least they were doing it. But this year is different. And I'm really, really thankful for the, like, it's so hard for South Koreans to do that, you know, because of their recognition. Their recognition isn't the same as us, of course. But like, I see the desperation of South Korea right now. They are fighting for freedom, you know, and it does depend on the, you know, there are many different kind of South Koreans, so I can't speak for them. But at least my friends, my type of people in South Korea are fighting for freedom. They even hold the American national flag as well, to show that they're on the world of free world. But it's kind of sad though, because Trump administration and MAGA people probably don't see the world that way. South Korea is just like Japan and European countries, you know, we look at the world as the authoritarian regimes versus free world. So just like the Cold War era, you know. But I guess that people don't look at it, like some Americans don't look at it that way anymore. So yeah, but South Koreans are, you know, fighting for that, because you have, South Korea is largely influenced by pro-North Korean activists and also Chinese people. Both North Korea and China are affecting South Korea. So they don't want to be swallowed, you know. So, yeah. K-pop has made many fans of South Korea out of Japanese, it seems like. Yeah. I mean, the way that we see it, though, is the Japanese people are just minding our own business, like creating music for our own people. But South Korea is strategically using K-pop and other soft power to export to the world, to show that they are different from North Korea. They want to show that South Korea is South Korea, you know, the one and only. So, yeah. I can't imagine though, like one nation state basically, you know, Korea dividing into half. And even though it's the same tribe, you're fighting each other like that. Like I don't want to imagine, I don't want to even imagine that, but they're doing it and they're so strong. Oh, Yoko Tax, thank you. I can go on now. Could you make a video about JSTF? Maybe interview a member. Also, why is Trump senpai? Because Trump is senpai. He's senior. Yeah, I made the very first video that went viral in the American or Western community is that the Trump senpai is the second video, I think. I made a video about letter, like invitation, and I asked Trump to invite me to his inauguration. Didn't happen this time either, but so I made a video, and the second one I thought of like, I learned about the, sorry for my thought. I learned about the notice me senpai meme in the Western community, and so I just applied that to Trump. Trump senpai, because I was such a fangirl, you know, of Trump, and like back then, I thought that the shift to China was important, you know, coming from East Asia. China is such a threat. CCP, you know, communists from China are dangerous to our security. So even economically too. So considering that, Trump made sense to me. and I grew this attachment to him too, because he was now it's kind of normal to talk about China the way we do. Back then, it was so refreshing to hear what he was saying back then, what Trump was saying about China. Was like, wow, like Americans can't think like that. Like I was so like blown away. I started to like him. I made a video using the meme, notice me senpai. So that was the beginning of my journey this way. I was already politically active back then, but not about America. I didn't know much about American politics, but through Trump. Because Trump, like people talk negatively about how Trump speaks, like especially Democrats attack him for speaking in a really like a simple way, like to them Obama was eloquent and Trump, according to them, is not. But for me, as an outsider, like he's great, Oh, Super Chat, thank you so much. This is the first time I've seen your live stream and I like it a lot. Oh, thank you so much. I recognize your face. Do you have the same icon for X? Not sure. I have, oh yeah, yeah, right? Like I recognize that face. Thank you for coming. Thank you. It's so great that, even though our, where we stand politically is not always the same. It's so amazing that we can get together like this, Thank you. Thank you. Eloquence is a tool of manipulation. Yeah. Trump speaks plainly, which endears human to people who are wary of political speak. Yeah. Oh, that's true. I think it's important that we get rid of all the difficult terms, even though difficult terms can be useful, because when I talk to like ordinary people, sometimes it doesn't make sense because they use like casual terms and it can be difficult, but Trump does it effectively. And I think that, especially with the rise of social media platforms, I think that, politicians are changing. Even Japanese politicians, like it's so funny seeing Japanese politicians, like over the years, especially last year or maybe before, last year was because LDP, our governing ruling party, had an election, right? Like after Prime Minister Kishida, they replaced their leader, the party leader. So they had an election, inside the party to decide their party leader. And that's when, for example, this conservative figure of the party named Takayuki Kobayashi, we call him Koba Hawk because his name stands for hawk, the bird. So we're like, oh, Koba Hawk. And he started a YouTube channel and like live streaming and so on. And also like from the live streaming footage, I guess that people are cutting out some parts and making a shorts video and so on. And so that kind of thing grew, like especially around there, I think. And also we had a Tokyo gubernatorial election. And when that happened, this guy that became the second place, he used social media so effectively that the politicians here were reminded that, like, they learned that, oh, social media is the thing that we need to do. So since then, around that time, like last year, was a starting point, I think. Our politicians are trying to, like, desperately trying to, I can't find the right words, to resonate with young audience. So they're picking and choosing easier, simpler expressions, and also this guy, for example, I really like this conservative politician of national LDP, Mr. Nishimura. What's his first name? 西村先生なんだっけ師匠の名前。自民党の西村先生、自民党じゃないか今。ちょっと安俊西村。Very like kind of like an actor kind of appearance, you know, and he eats stuff all the time now for social media. He's a politician. He's a national diet member who is rumored to be the future prime minister, one of the candidates, you know, and also he belonged to Abe faction. He was close to Abe, but he did, like, majority of the time he is having some sweets and so on, showing like, oh, this tastes like this and that, and he make reports like that, and we love that. So it's interesting to see the shift. And I think it all started though with Trump. Trump knew how to use the social media. So yes, it'll probably work out best for the world right now with Trump. Too good, Yoko and husband, ciao ciao. Oh, you're leaving. Thank you for hanging out with me. Well, you are for Japan first. Why wouldn't you be? Yeah. The Korean people have Han that drives all that their. Oh yeah, Han. Now I remember. I used to hear that often, like 10 years ago. People in one direction. It tends to others problems. Han focuses pain and suffering throughout their history, acting as unified sentiment. Yeah, they have that. That's a unique culture of Korea, South Korea. So yeah, it is unifying though. But it's also for China too. Like whenever, it's a little different from the Han culture, but both China and South Korea, whenever they have like domestic issues, they would often just randomly talk about Japan and bash Japan so that they can distract all the people from their domestic issues to dodge the bullets domestically. You know, that's been the pattern. But South Korea is changing, so that's good, but not China. China is so, like their propaganda is so well made, you know. They produce anti-Japan movies and make the citizens watch it since they were little children, you know. They imprint this narrative that Japan is atrocious and blah, 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 and that Japan is a small country, very nasty and so on. They brainwash the people. So what's interesting is that when they travel to here, they actually like the soft power of Japan. And also, but nowadays it's been a problem that Chinese people come. Some people even apply for not our citizenship, but our nationality. And they do that. Like we wonder, like, why would they do that if they hate Japan, you know? But I guess that they are seeing, from what I can tell from their words, you know, they are saying that probably they're seeing Japan like a box, basically, that it's just some place for them, the useful place, you know, that they will become Japanese because their passports are useful for them, and also that it's a clean city. So it's nice to live here for them. And there are so many Chinese immigrants here that they have formed their community too. So it works for them, you know, and it's been a problem. Yoko, how bad has Japan in inflation been lately? How can they still have 100 yen stores without raising the prices to 200 yen? Because they sell well. They sell well. And also tourists go to that sort of like a dollar shop place here in Japan too. So, yeah. Because I rather think that because of the inflation and just recession in general in Japan, because we can't afford good stuff, we go to cheaper places. So 100 yen store, for you it's dollar store. But yeah, we just go there for cheaper cheaper things. I do that too. I don't want to do it because I know that the majority of things are made in China, but I can't afford it. So yeah, but Daiso is actually good. But what's interesting is that Daiso has advertisement for the baseball stadium of where Shohei Ohtani plays. Like, oh, I always see the Daiso advertisement behind him. I'm like, like, how can they afford it, It must be super duper expensive. But yeah. And it's interesting because do they have Daiso overseas? I don't know. But Japanese people watch Ohtani's games, so. Yeah, 150 or so, yes. It was so much easier to calculate the yen to dollar or vice versa before because it was like 100 yen is $1. So I just had to add or decrease 2 zeros, so it was so easy to calculate in my head. Now I'm like, I have to actually calculate. So I don't know though. I don't know much about economy at all, so I wish I could talk about it too. I've never found anything useful in a dollar store. Every time I enter one, all I see is useless junk. Really? Not in Japan. Japanese stuff is really like, yeah. But it's really sad because Japanese people are capable of making those products, of course. But we are too good. We are too expensive to hire. So, yeah. But then, if you MAGA people know it better than I do. But if you make foreign workers do the work for you overseas, then you lose money eventually in the long run. I met South Korean Christians at a giant square in Busan when our carrier docked there in 1990. Ooh, cool. They were evangelizing us. Cool. Yeah, there are many Christians in South Korea. Yeah, many Christians. But what's interesting about Christians in East Asia, even in Japan though, that I don't know much about Christians in South Korea, but I do believe that they have their own version of Christianity. So in Japan at least, there are Christianity-based religious groups, but they, for example, worship ancestors, but that's not Christian. That's just Japanese. So it's combined, So that's interesting to see. Yeah. Daiso USA is owned by Japan. Oh, they have stores in the US, in America? I worked as Daiso warehouse manager here in Hawaii. Really? But we are supposedly the only franchise Daiso in the world. Oh, I see. That's cool. So when I visit Hawaii, I can stop by at Daiso when I have problems. That's awesome. We need to go to Hawaii, right? My husband says yes. Yep. It's so much closer. Flying to America is you need a whole 24 hours. My husband is gonna put together some woods to make a ship and then go. Old style. I can't imagine that he would just sail into the ocean and come back because of the strong wave. Shipping all of your manufacturing over to foreign countries is never a good idea, though. Yeah, exactly. So Japan, a lot of Japanese patriots want to shift that back to Japan, Yeah, and also not just Japan, but I think that it should be like regionally too. That local foods should be consumed by local people, to make it flow inside. It would be way better. But some people, I think, still do it like in the very, very countryside, Countryside, what happens is that they're like farmers often, or fisheries, and they have a lot of stuff, and also some veggies and so on don't fit the regulations. Like you have to fulfill the requirements to be able to make it a product, right? Even veggies and so on. So some don't fit and they are going to waste. So they share that with, or excessive ones, they share with the local people, like, oh, I'll give it to you, well, and they can do that. It's such a luxury. 24 hours and then a week of jet lag, yeah. Me though, I think that I fall asleep at 3 or 4 and then wake up at noon, so I think that's like what? I don't know where my time like my sleeping cycle probably is just adjusted to somewhere on this earth, just not Japan. So weird. When it comes to food production, it should be domestic as possible. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, because like Japan, of course, has earthquakes often, and sometimes a really big one hits, and then, of course, like from other regions, foods should come, but on a daily basis, yeah, seriously. Oh, by the way, speaking of like regions and so on, so it snowed heavily in Japan recently, and I saw the footage of this old house in the countryside in the north. It just collapsed because of the heavy snow on the top. And that reminded me, like, some of you are familiar with some Western influencers who are saying like, oh, Japanese old houses are so, like, they're vacant now, and you can purchase Japanese like old houses for this like really reasonable price and blah blah blah, and they're pushing you to purchase the houses here. But I'm like, that happens, like they can't even, because they're so old and so on, like they can't even support the snow. You don't want to die in older houses. Regulations are sometimes insane. Visit us soon. I have our Osaka Gospel Corps coming to this. Oh yeah, right. We are singing at the Hawaii Convention Center for the Honolulu Festival next week. Cool. Is it gonna get on the news? Maybe it'll get on the news. Here. When it comes to, I read that. Someone should hire Yoko for conservative speaking in the US. I will gladly go, I am one of those people, like, I have so much time, but I don't have money. So, like, whenever you just invite me, I'll be there. So some people will say like, oh, work, But I have this selfish body that when I work for other people, I get sick. Like, no joke, I seriously get sick because I guess that I'm resisting with my full body. So like I can't work like a normal person. Yoko, what do you think of communist Hassan Piker? Oh yeah, being in Japan right now. I think maybe within this year he will get the Japanese citizenship. Is it that easy? What do the Japanese think of it? Japanese people don't even know him. But I did see the coverage of this Hassan or whatever. He visited the headquarters of Japanese Communist Party, and he like a trophy, like he got on their newspaper. So congratulations. And just so you know, Japanese Communist Party is, they're not popular at all. They're despised in our country. Japanese people are not stupid, Like it's kind of deteriorating. Is that the word? We are less sophisticated, I have to say. Even I am not sophisticated. My husband is, but not me. People don't read books. People are stuck in their own bubbles. They're emotional. They care about their own, because we talked about this last week, but our religious aspect is fading. So it's fading, but still, like communism. People don't like communism, and if you believe in communism, then you have to oppose to our Tenno, our emperor. So, because you want equality, right, with communism. That's like denying our history and tradition. We love our Tenno, he's a symbol of our country. So, yeah. So that's why sometimes people do vote for Japanese Communist Party. It was a trend to do that. Not a trend, and that's not the term. Like it was a pattern that Japanese people were doing. Like sometimes Communist Party would gain votes, but that was because people were saying no to the ruling party. That used to be the pattern, but nowadays there are so many other parties, so it doesn't happen like that anymore, and they can't gain seats anymore. And their younger version, I would say, is Reiwa. There's this radical leftist party, Reiwa. And Reiwa actually is our age right now, like our era. Like Japan has eras, like Meiji era, Taisho era, Showa, and so on. I was born in Showa, period, Right now it's called Reiwa. And this leftist party named themselves as Reiwa Shinsengumi. So annoying. But they know how to, again, I was talking about social media, but they know how to use social media very, very well. That they're getting, support. What's interesting is that right now, so young people like myself included, I'm not even young anymore, but like even my generation included, before Abe administration, the second Abe administration, we had a employment ice age, like my husband generation to my generation, or a little bit below to like this, a decade or 2 decades, These people have never seen the economy being well and so on, and the inflation is not helping. We are suffering economically just to live. It's so tough right now. It's so depressing. So, like, our generation vote for those parties that are talking about economy. That's what happens, right? And usually, like, when economy suffers, economically you suffer, you vote for leftist party, right? That's just the nature of politics. And as for our generation, we support the young people. It was like there was a recent poll in Japan showing that there's this party called Democratic Party for the People. Democratic Party. They're kind of leftist, but they're like centrist, And I do like the party. Not they're like they are a little too liberal sometimes. But as for economy or national security, the party is good. And they say that economically they will do good things for the people. I did vote for them actually, for the not the regional, but like we have a system that we can vote for the party too, and I did vote for the party, and yeah, and but I guess that those who have a common sense, those who do not want to vote for LDP but then still have common sense probably vote for Democratic Party for the people. But there are other types of people. The Reiwa is like AOC party basically. The Taro Yamamoto, the leader, the party leader resembles like to me. He's so much like AOC. Like he's fairly young, like younger than the most powerful politicians, but he used to be a comedian and actor, and he was kind of successful, but he was not getting enough jobs, I guess, and he went to the political community. He became the leader of the party, but we can tell that his brains are writing the scripts, he's just because he used to be an actor, he can memorize the lines. and he just talks about all this radical stupid stuff, that AOC would be saying. I feel like AOC could be even smarter than him, like it's that bad. And people support him because he uses this sensational, very radical rhetoric, and stupid people here fall in the trap, Actually, like Zelenskyy. No, Zelenskyy was like, people make fun of him, but when I look at his career, like he liked to, it's so sad, rather. Like I get emotional when I think about his life, because he loves to make people laugh, to entertain people, others, And now he did a TV show to the role to be the president, and he was so good at it that he was chosen to become the real president. But now he aged a lot too during these terms, and I feel bad, that even though his nature is that to entertain others, he is a symbol of war now, and he's been name called and so on too. And I think that Americans, of course, like you guys are having issues inside, but your tax money, like the enormous amount of money is going to Ukraine, and I can, like I can't completely understand because I'm not you, but like I imagine it's frustrating. But at the same time, I don't know, it's like you gotta sort it out kind of like mentally, because your frustration is just bursting into every aspect. So, but Biden is not somebody that you need to talk about too, I think, because he made things worse. He's a great salesman, yeah, I agree. I don't think that our leader can do what he is doing because he's flying around. Like, people don't like it because he is dependent, but what can he do right now? Because if he doesn't do that, then Ukraine will fall. So he's desperate to, get the support from each country and flying all over the world. And he does it successfully too. So, I mean, not only Zelenskyy though, I think that it's the people. The people know politics. So I didn't know about Ukraine before, before this war, to be honest, I didn't know about Ukraine. But now I am friends with Ukrainian people too. So like both inside Japan and outside. And yeah, it's like I read a thread actually today. I don't think I'm gonna retweet because because it will probably trigger a lot of my followers. So I'm not gonna, I want to be there on social media to, be connected with you in a positive way. So I'm not gonna repost everything, but like this guy was made a whole thread like this. Like this is all explaining like Ukrainian people. Like I'm gonna just show you this part, I guess. Whoever, it's mirrored, so probably you can't read, but it was a good thread because like people, Ukrainian people do see like those Ukrainian people, not all of them support Zelensky, but at the same time, like they don't want to give up, you know. Like it's not. Let's see, what did it say? Oh, I have to read more. I don't exactly remember, but I was impressed by this thread, you know, that like Ukrainian people are there, not for him, but for Ukraine. So, yeah. You lived in Ukraine for 2 months? Wow. In the Oval Office, it looked like Zelensky lost a big part of his soul. Yeah. It was bad for all of us, I feel. But I guess the nationalistic people in America would liked it, I guess, because they're sick and tired of giving their money to Ukraine, I guess. Especially when your country is having issues inside. Of course, you don't want to see that happening, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it's true that Zelensky is used to, you know, meeting his supporters, you know, like European nations or even Japan. Like we are all supportive, but he couldn't switch on and off with Trump, I guess. Like when you talk to Trump, you have to have a Trump mode, you know. But yeah, so it's I don't know what happened to Zelensky, you know. Well, I mean, I'm not Zelensky, so I have no idea what went to his mind. We were talking on X about video games, Yoko. Do you play many games? No, only Call of Duty Mobile. I want to play more, but... Oh, good morning. Good morning from New Orleans. Hello. Good morning. Early riser, right? Yeah, I want to play games, but I can't. I suck at the controller. What do you call it? The like PlayStation and so on. I'm not good with that thing. I can only touch screen. So I used to, like, I'm a pianist, for those who didn't know, kind of. Like I took classic piano lessons from like about 5, I think, from 5 to 15 or so. So like it's like when you learn something very early on, it's just you, right? Like you remember everything. So like whenever I touch the keyboard, I can just play, and yeah. So that's why my fingers move very well. I type really fast too, and people laugh at my typing speed too, because I can play. You know, so my keyboard is, laptop and so on are the same. But that's why I can play on touch screen, but not really with this thing. But yeah, I'm waiting for some good games that I can play on mobile. But I really like the gaming graphics, though. I really love the graphic world, like virtual reality. So I wish I was good at games. Yoko, do you also know most American tax money goes to Israel and Jewish Americans? Israel and Jewish Americans donate the whole left wing to right wing American politics. Yeah. I mean, Jewish influence, yeah. I at least I think I know. But at the same time, I don't, as I probably shared it with you before, like I don't think about I don't like my perspective is that not based on race, and it's more I focus on ideology, because if you talk about Jewish, then I have to talk about Christians. So that's just me, But yeah. So, but I guess that the important point that you were probably raising is that your money is going to all these places in the world, and also especially to the war area, right? It's so easy to talk about world peace when there is no war, but once war has broken out, it's really difficult to talk about that. Mobile games are mostly not great. Hey, don't judge it. COD Mobile is actually developed by Tencent, I think. Did they change? I think there was some change, but Chinese company, I think, is doing it. So that's why I don't really like to play it, but I have to because it's actually good. It's sad. Still, Call of Duty is an American thing, right? So, but I don't. That's why I never pay though for the game. I don't want to give my money to, eventually probably because they are developing in China. My money would go to China, so I'm doing the best for not paying but playing. But yeah, but their graphics and also the how you feel, it's really good. At least Chinese people though, the regime is problematic, but Chinese people, I guess that because their country's structure or industry has grown, Chinese people became more and more creative, I think, and they do make good stuff. So I really wish that the political situation was different, because there will be many more things that we could enjoy together, Yeah. How much have you heard about USAID? Probably the same amount as you are hearing, because I follow American people on X, and there are some copycats in Japan too. Among the Japanese conservative or right-wing circles, there are a bunch of people that are just copying what American alt-right is saying, and it's bizarre to me, because for you it's good, I guess, to have little pets like that. But for me, as a Japanese patriot, I'm our national interests don't always, they're not always the same. And also the USAID paid organizations include, of course they are liberals, but include this Tibetan group, for example, that I cooperate with. They have this big international, really big Tibetan network, and I guess they were receiving the money from USAID as well, and they have their it's such a big network that they have staff working for the organization, and they are so active. They are connected to national parliament members in the world and so on, and they know how to write press releases and everything. They know diplomacy, they know how to work. But and they are fighting against CCP regime, for Tibetans basically, but they sometimes cooperate for other cause as well. So really strong, powerful, great people on our side, but they're now they're they need donations now. So it's sad, but again, it's up to Americans to decide, I guess, how to use the money. I've been thinking what's the national interests for each country though, because I realized that what's the actual benefits nowadays, because it's hard to think about that anymore. But yeah, If no super chats, my husband is sitting right in front of me, by the way. He probably needs to be fed. But I could go on with super chat. But if no more super chat, I gotta go. Joystick, yes. Chinese Call of Duty Mobile. Yeah. We had a bit of misunderstanding on X and now I'm banned. Be careful when you engage with random Yoko. That's why Trump wants to make the deal no more death for no reason. It's not for no reason though. Like if you want to truly stop the war, what Ukraine is looking for is just to stop Russia's aggression, you know, and guarantee that they'll be safe. And I don't know why it's so complex now. Like it's not like Ukraine is trying to expand. That's just I don't know. Japanese people at least think that way. Not just me, you know. It's not my personal opinion. It's just Japanese people are like, why don't you just stop Putin? Because that's like whatever he thinks historically, he is invading, you know, and it's not necessary. You guys see a lot of anti-Japanese tweets in Korean Twitter. Really? It's probably because the government is different. Also, whenever Westerners make a TikTok video of living in Japan versus Korea, it makes Koreans so much jealous and anger. Yeah. I feel like though, as a neighbor of South Korea, I feel like South Koreans kind of changed over like if you compare them from like 10 years ago, it's so much different because I think the country grew a lot economically and also even with like K-pop and everything, you know, the soft power side of South Korea has grown so much. And even in Japan, like South Korean culture is well accepted. Young people and also a little bit like elderly people too, especially women, but also young boys. Like they like Korea, South Korea. And I guess because our economy is bad, you can easily travel to South Korea. It's like just right there, you know. If I fly to South Korea, it's like going to Tokyo. Like it's so close, you know. So that's why I guess young people feel like close to them, and also with the plastic surgery and everything, you know, like it's so artificial, but they're so pretty too. And their fashion is so cool, right? For young people, like I have a different taste, to be honest. But like it's a modern, like South Koreans are cool to young people. And so, yeah. And South Koreans, I think, are realizing that they are cool. Yeah. Like they don't have to be pessimistic about their own country. And I feel a shift in their sentiments, you know, at least among like young people. And so like they should be just proud. And before it was like Japan grew economically massively, you know, in the 70s and 80s. But South Korea probably suffered. I have no idea, but I'm just imagining. And then it'll be easy to be jealous of that and so on, right? But now they have their own stuff and they shouldn't be jealous of us or anything. They don't have to play the victim of it anymore. In my opinion, they are entitled to their historical viewpoints and everything. But I'm like, oh, like they have amazing things, and why don't you cherish it, you know, rather than comparing it with Japan? So, yeah. But you know, just so you know, the anti-Japan sentiment, it's the pro-North Korean people and pro-China people always agitate the division between Japan and South Korea because it benefits them. So it'll be always there, I think. Remember, USA draw a line for the Iron Curtain. 鉄のカーテンってなんだ？
コールドウォーの時の。
Cold War?
東側とソ連側と西側を分ける鉄のカーテンと呼んだんですよ。チャーチルが。
Or Churchill said that. I'm learning from my husband. Is North Korea still launching missiles near Japan? Yeah, but not very recently. No, but was it? When was that? They still did that though, last year or so. Like every time there's a missile launch from North Korea, we get a notification, I guess. Like at least to the affected area, like possible affected areas, you know. Do we get? Sometimes I guess I just noticed on X. Yeah. But every time they launch one, like when we are watching TV, for example, they have a breaking news and, oh, North Korea just launched what appears to be a ballistic missile, because we can't tell, you know, right away. But like, oh, like something flew, and then the TV is like, oh, they're doing it again. And we're like, oh, again, but we don't even hide because we are so used to it. That's bad. That's really bad. But they're training, at least in the north area of Japan, I guess, where usually the missiles, you know, fall. I bet that they are like they have the exercises to evacuate and so on. Anyway, no more super chat. No more super chat. I'm getting sleepy for you. I know that I just woke up and I've been speaking for a while and I'm getting tired, like not tired but sleepy. Does Japan have fraud and waste in giving aid to other countries? Will Japan benefit if they have a doji audit? 日本は他の国に対してお金をあげることで詐欺とかなんとかってある。まあそのアメリカがやってるような感じ。ないね。No だからそのアメリカの同時みたいにこうしなきゃいけないことみたいな。Our system like liberals are usually elites here, just like in the US, you know, like elites type. When by the time they graduate from university, they are leftists, right? The majority of them. So what that means is that they are very much familiar with how the world works, or they know how to read and so on. So like they know how to, oh, super chat, thank you so much. I'll get to that. Thank you. So they know how to read, they know how the society works, they know how to fill in the legal documents and so on. And also those elites know other elites, you know, whether it's professors or media, whatever. So they have all these connections. So they help each other all the time. Even National Diet member, our parliament members, they're connected. So what happens is that they give jobs to each other, for example, you know, and also even like national aids, financially, like what it's called, like I forgot the term, but like academic field and so on. Often like they gather people and, you know, get the government funding and so on. So that happens on the left side. Conservative side, we're just doing it by our own money because we don't have that kind of wisdom. Leftists know it better. We don't. So all this money usually tend to go to the leftist organizations or committees and so on, right? So Yeah. So that happened. So that's why, for example, during the Suga administration, they went into to cut some academic meetings to cut the funding, I guess, if I remember correctly. So, yeah. So it's not like we are against the system itself. We are against, the money flowing to the left side. I'm like, conservative side should use it rather effectively, but conservative people just attack leftists. Oh, Sebastian, thank you so much. Go feed your husband. He sounds hungry. I'm signing off. You are signing off. Have a good night. Thank you so much, Joshua. Thank you. Thank you for so much. It helps me so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. Have a good night. Zelenskyy was wrong. Just so you're alive. Yay. Make Japan great again. Yes. I'm so hungry now. I think it's really important to watch the entire press conference and not just clips before. I watched the whole thing. Conference, not just clips before we come to a strong opinion on the introduction. Too many people are making comments but haven't watched it. That's true. That's so true. At least I did for the most part. As I said in the beginning of this live stream, I watched probably 30 minutes or so, like when they were having a calm conversation, like kind of friendly, warm conversations. And then it was so good, I fell asleep. I missed the last 10 minutes. I was sleeping. And then the next morning I woke up, my husband, and it's like, Yoko, the world is crazy now. And I'm like, what? I watched it. It was peaceful. It was great. What did go? What would go wrong? Many things went wrong. Yeah. Making dinner for husband is part of wifey duty. Yeah. I'm so lazy though. But I'm efficient. So I usually cut veggies and so on beforehand and freeze them in the freezer. So like when I make miso soup, for example, I just grab the freezed veggies and boil and put miso and done. So fast. I'm so fast. What could go wrong? Famous last question. Yeah. Again, your Trump lost and exposed Americans' ill-mannered behavior of empire. I can imagine what will happen to Japan. What will happen to Japan is like something the Japanese people are discussing a lot. So like we can't. If I put it in a negative way, it's like we can't trust America anymore. Like because if this can't happen. If they side with Putin. That's how Japan. I'm not saying that Japanese general ideas. Usually, generally, Japanese people are saying that we gotta get independent because we can't rely on other countries, and that's just natural in politics. So, same stuff could be said about us. Japan and America, for example, we have strong alliance, but I know that Americans don't fully trust us either. It's sad. It is sad, but because we are trying, but it's sad because it's another country. So, yeah. But at least though we are connected, right? I can trust you guys, right? Often I'm learning how to be diplomatic. I suck at it. I know how to insist strong opinions because that's who I am. But at the same time, because I'm gaining more following, I'm like I need to learn how to be diplomatic because that's my weakness. But if I overcome this weakness, I'll be like golden, right? So that's something that I'm telling myself Yoko, you need to learn how to be diplomatic. So that's my goal. for New Yorker. By the way, in Japanese, diplomacy is called gaiko. So like gaiko, if you say like diplomatic, it's like gaiko-teki. And I also need to be another gaiko-teki. Gaiko means to be like outgoing, gaiko. Because gai is outer world, gai, soto, gai. So I need to be like diplomatic and outgoing. Just stupid things. I'm making a pun in my head. Anyway, I'm probably losing you with the stupid talk. I should probably go, right? Taiwan is more important. They have the chip manufacturing. Yeah, always make sure that you have Taiwan with you. It's like the highly developed chips, 90% comes from Taiwan. So you gotta make sure that Taiwan is with you. You don't want to give that to China. But for me, Taiwan is more than chip though. Japan is our most important ally because of Yoko-san. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Marco Rubio made a famous joke that you can save money with Geiko. Geiko? Okay, anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys. I appreciate it so much. Trust your neighbor, China. I wish we could, but I seriously, like some people, like it's minority still, but I saw some posts on X saying that because of what happened in the Oval Office, a few people were saying that, oh, that's why East Asia have to, be together. It's like it's getting more realistic that we, Japan, side with China because America is like that, like siding with Putin and so on. Even though like China and Russia is kind of close, but it's for like a business, basically. And that would be bad. You don't want to push Japan to China, right? It's so weird. Like even to think about stupid things like that is sad. But anyway, next Thailand. Some want a new East Asian alliance. Yeah, it's China. China is a difficult country though, because of their sinocentrism. They always look down on you, and they're expansive too. They want to conquer up until Pacific Ocean. They want to conquer to Hawaii, So like they don't recognize Taiwan or Japan. Like they don't care about us. They want to just conquer. So if you want to enjoy anime or J-pop, make sure Japan, still firmly stands. We are like the fortress, We're like, no, don't go to the American side. And Japan is like, if you can see the world map, Japan's shape is like, seriously, we are like this, We're protecting you. So make sure that, we still stand with you. Anyway, I'm like talking stupid things, so I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Okay, I will see you next week. Yep. Have a good night. Okay. And thank you for those who gave me super chat. And also, thank you always for following me or watching me. I appreciate it. Okay. Good night. Bye-bye.